Welcome back. This is the week you missed with Todd and Jarrett. We got a great episode coming up because it was a wild week that you missed. We are at December 3rd, 2021, wrapping up one of the craziest years known to man. And I think we're getting ready for an even wilder year coming up. So I think the wild news that I feel like I can't stop thinking about. I'm curious what's going to happen. I feel like this was inevitable. All of the people who think like, oh, this is so surprising. I don't know how it's surprising. I don't know exactly how it was going to come about, but I knew something was eventually going to go is Omicron. So a few things with Omicron. I think there's a few, I guess we could talk about Omicron, but I'm focused a little bit on just some of the I guess hypocritical aspects of it. So first, we go through the variants, naming them with the Greek alphabet. Do you know we skipped two letters in the alphabet?
Yeah, I had to memorize the Greek alphabet when I was pledging a fraternity in college, and I do not know it anymore, but I just sensed, I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that they skipped, what is it, alpha, beta, delta, epsilon, zeta.
They skipped gamma is in there. They skipped nu, which at first I was like, why'd they skip the new variant? And I think I was with my brother. I said, hey, you know why they skipped the new variant? And he said, what's the new variant? And like I was like, that's why they skipped it, because it sounds like new. But then the one after that they skipped was the XI, however you pronounce that. Z variant. And the reason they skipped it was because of China. And they didn't want people to be like blaming China for this Z variant. So I have a couple of, I just think that's a little bit odd. One, why, actually the main thing, why are we giving in to China to kind of like appease them or not make their prime minister or president, whatever, Xi, upset? Is like, to me, what's pretty interesting is, hey, if the WHO is so concerned about what their president XIZ thinks about them, who's to say that they weren't changing news earlier in the year or last year because they didn't want to upset President Xi? Who's to say that the origins of the virus weren't investigated as thoroughly as they should have been because you didn't want to upset President Xi, or however you say it? I just don't really understand how you're going to skip the protocol is to name variants based on the alphabet, and all of a sudden you're changing kind of the rules for what? Doesn't really make sense. And then just another thing, I guess, to add, and I'll let you respond to it all, is because it's kind of related, is we found the Omicron virus variant. It was first detected in South Africa, and instantly United States said you can't travel to America from South Africa, Botswana, and like 3 or 4 other countries down there. If all of these things that I just mentioned were done by President Trump last year, I can't help but think he'd be called racist and anti-Asian for God knows what, saying something about President Xi and also about not letting African countries into America. And it's like, why is no one saying that about President Biden? Why did we just limit 4 African countries that had nothing to do with the Omicron variant just because they're close to South Africa? That seems pretty discriminatory. And it seems like we're penalizing a country for doing the right thing, because the only reason that South Africa detected the variant is because they said that they detected the variant. It's probably detected in Europe as well. Europe probably just didn't say anything yet because they didn't want to screw themselves over economically. I don't know.
No, I definitely, so you're right on a couple of things. And one, you don't have to speculate.
No, I'm right on everything, Todd. I'm right on everything.
We don't have to speculate. You win. When Trump first rolled out travel bans for the virus, I think even Biden himself tweeted out basically being like, this is xenophobic, racist, blah, 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 blah. He was pilloried up and down saying, this is crazy, this is racist, that, just more racism from Trump, yada, yada, yada. Now, it turns out that at that time, given where we were in the pandemic, pretty much everyone now is like, okay, that was the right thing to do. Like, we should have done that because, we didn't have vaccines, we didn't have testing capacity. It was raging, it was new. I think everyone now, anyone who's honest is going to say that, yes, that was the right thing to do. Now, they're not going to go back and apologize to Trump and be like, oh, our bad for calling you racist. And you know what, who cares? But, this idea that it is just funny watching this happen, because especially now with the fact that we've got vaccinations in place, with the fact that outside of vaccinations, so many people have gotten this thing that there is natural immunity in the population as well. And also the fact that all the initial testing data and everything that is coming out is basically saying this looks to be milder. Yes, it is more infectious, but it is not as deadly. And with the way that, viruses typically evolve, that is the standard path of a virus, because it follows evolutionary sort of pressures like anything else. And so just like humans or polar bears or tigers, a virus wants to replicate and spread itself around. And the way you do that is not by killing people off, because if you kill your host, you can't spread. So, I don't think any of this is really surprising, but it is just unfortunate that, like, honestly, and this is my tinfoil hat time, like, I am starting to believe more so now than ever that all this COVID stuff, and especially with the response for Omicron, it's less about anything having to do with the virus and more about exerting control and being able to just sort of, I think, condition people to travel bans and testing and vaccination requirements and all this. It's just the, we're in a slow pot of boiling water and they're turning the heat up when they think that they have the ability to do so, and I don't like it. And I think that, you're also right about the origins of it. I read in an article that there had been evidence of Omicron infections in the Netherlands, I think like a few weeks before it was ever found in South Africa. Now, maybe the Netherlands didn't realize they had a new variant, and now after Omicron popped up, they sort of did some reverse genetic testing on previous samples and discovered it. I don't know, but frankly, to have all these travel bans on a country so quickly when, frankly, the origins of the variant aren't determined completely, I would say not beyond a shadow of a doubt. And like you said, we're sort of punishing South Africa for doing the right thing, for saying we're finding this variant. And I was listening to another podcast, and someone brought up that, it would be great if we had some sort of like international global fund that was established, that any country that genetically maps a new variant that is becoming prevalent gets, $100 million or something like this, like rewarding these countries for doing the work to find these new variants, to sequence them, and to let the world know about them. But instead, you're absolutely right. We're creating this incentive structure where, if there's a country that was heavily dependent on tourism, that had reopened everything up and people were traveling back and forth, and they've discovered a new variant, there's an economic incentive for them to be like, well, let's just not tell anyone about this.
Yeah, exactly. That's definitely a problem. I don't know. It's interesting, and I guess it definitely seems like we're going back towards lockdowns and sanctions and all of that. I'm at a point, I think it's a little too early for me to tell, like, if this Omicron is actually as nerve-wracking as they're making it out to be. I don't know. I do understand you, where it definitely seems like there's just a lot of control going on, and like, are they actually concerned? It is just interesting overall how everything is handled. Nothing makes sense, and every day I feel like it just makes less sense, because I don't know, doesn't add up in my head.
Yeah, and I think that, I don't know. I just think that, do you think the American public or cities would tolerate another lockdown?
No, I'm kind of I think the government wants to do another lockdown, and I'm kind of anxious to see what that's going to look like, because there's no chance in hell America is going to be receptive to that at all. But based on what's happening around the world, it looks like that's the trend we're going towards. I think Germany just locked down. There's a few countries that just like started closing borders, not 100% like they did before, but a little bit more and more.
Well, and you know, in Germany, the lockdown I think they're doing now, at least last I read, is they're locking down the unvaccinated only, which
Yeah,
is
which
honestly bringing up some really, really weird scenes that I feel like the German people would be like, can we not do this? Like, can
yeah,
we not be going around asking like papers, please? And like, you now have to go home and just sit there and, you know, concentrate on why you don't have a vaccine. Really think about that.
yeah, no, it's it's wild. I don't know. Let's change the topic. What do you got to say?
I want to talk about Cuomo and the Cuomo.
Oh my God. I can't believe I haven't even been thinking about that.
Man, you know, I think I look, I'm here for it. I hated Andrew Cuomo about 2 seconds into the pandemic. As soon as he started having his pompous goddamn press conferences every day, and watching the entire country turn against him was one of the most glorious things I've ever experienced.
Yep.
In terms of news, it was just awesome because, you know, I was saying it from the beginning. I was like, this guy with the nursing home deaths, with everything else, and then, you know, the ironic thing with Andrew Cuomo is that, oh yeah, your policies led to the deaths of possibly thousands or tens of thousands of elderly people, which you might have been able to defend at first by saying, hey, we didn't know about the disease, we made some wrong choices, and now we know. However, the fact that they covered up the data and tried to massage the numbers,
it just got worse and worse.
Exactly, just makes it worse. The cover up is always worse than the crime, as they say. And so, you know, and now just to have his pompous asshole brother, Chris Cuomo, who's, you know, talking head on CNN and tries to pawn himself off as like a journalist and not a, you know, and not a commentator.
Yeah.
You know, is now revealed that, you know, he didn't just listen in on some conference calls. He was actively helping try to like dig up dirt on accusers, leveraging his journalistic sources,
Yep.
and really, you know, abusing his position in the media to try to help a sitting politician who happens to be his brother.
Yep.
Now, I've seen a lot of people say that, like, look, if my brother was in trouble, I would probably do some immoral stuff too. And you know what? I would too. I'm sure you would as well. But that's not to say that if and when you get caught during that, you don't get to just be like, he was my brother. Like,
no, yeah, you got to deal with the consequences. Exactly.
And for someone in Chris Cuomo's position, those consequences involve you don't get to be employed anymore. And, you know, right now they have indefinitely suspended him, which it's like, it's sort of like when police get put on administrative leave after shooting someone. It's like, oh, you mean a paid vacation? That's what's happening. Yeah. He's collecting his salary, just doesn't have to work. Oh, let me, you know, cry me a river. Like, come on.
Exactly. They got to fire him. And I think some of the women who are upset at Andrew Cuomo are upset he hasn't been fired yet. They're saying like the longer CNN goes without firing him, the more that they have kind of blood on their hands as well.
Yeah, you know, I mean, how long? I predict he will be back on the air. I think it'll be within a month.
You think so? I mean, they do have the masturbator back on air.
They got Tubin.
Yeah.
Dude literally got caught beating off on a Zoom call, and they brought his ass back.
Lubin Tubin.
And so, you know, I think that I don't know, and it's actually interesting. I don't know. Have you been following that CNN is being acquired by Discovery? Are you following that story at all?
No.
So the Discovery Group, and I might be getting some of the corporations wrong because, you know, parent corporations, whatever else, but the Discovery Channel network or company is purchasing CNN, and one of their largest shareholders was just on. He was being interviewed and basically saying like, you know, I would like to see CNN return to its roots of being just like a down the middle news network and not so much wrapped up in this, you know, in commentary and getting politicized. And, you know, because I think the idea that CNN basically the idea that someone would try to say with a straight face that CNN delivers non-biased news coverage is just absolute bullshit. Look, and I don't think any of them do. I don't think, Fox News, NPR, MSNBC, CNN, they've all got their slants, and the idea that any of them try to sort of really say that, like, we're the news and you can trust us, like, come on, that's bullshit. Yeah. Like, so I don't know, but I think hopefully we see some heads roll at CNN. I think it would be great to see Chris Cuomo actually completely fired. I think it would be great to see Don Lemon fired as well, because that guy is just sort of a pompous windbag as well. Hey, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I'm with it all, and I think just a couple, maybe one thing to add. Maybe I'll have more, but I've been saying the Cuomos suck for, I feel like, a long time, and you shouldn't really judge people based on their family, but their family can give you at least a good place to start inspecting or investigating. And the Cuomo's dad was a fraud. He was a bad guy. He was I forget exactly what he did, but he was a politician and got in trouble for breaking the law. So it's like, if the dad broke the law as governor of New York, do you really think that the two kids are gonna be completely clean? Hopefully, possibly, but it doesn't surprise me at all that they have done what they've done. And I just think it's also funny, like, being Chris Cuomo, how you could, like, come on the air and act like you're a great guy when, like, you're not doing really nice things. And, like, again, I hate Trump just as much as most people hate Trump, but I feel like those two, Chris Cuomo and Andrew Cuomo, bashed Trump probably more so than anyone else last year. And it's like, hey, maybe you guys should have been looking inward and trying to solve your own issues rather than just pointing at others and saying how bad that they are.
Yeah, Mario Cuomo, their father, was just a notorious machine politician. And New York has always been legendary for its sort of machine politics and having these groups that really just, like, control so much. The Cuomos were a big part of it. And actually, just a little story about Mario Cuomo's shittiness. I think it was he was running against, I believe, Ed Koch, either for governor or for mayor of New York. I can't remember which. I don't remember the details. But Ed Koch was always rumored to be a homosexual and closeted at the time and not out. And I don't know if it was an official ad, but there was basically some ads or phrasing that was going out that was saying, "Vote for Cuomo, not the homo."
I think I've heard of that.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, so you're an asshole. I get it. Like, and you know what? Frankly, if this was in, like, the 70s or 80s in New York, like, I'm sure that hit. I'm sure that worked with people. But it's like, it doesn't make you not a jerk.
Yeah, no, exactly. And
But
eventually, you gotta kind of accept what you dished, and when it comes back to you.
yeah, but I don't wish any negativity to come to them, and hope they have good lives, but you got to pay the piper. And frankly, I think the biggest punishment at all for either Chris or Andrew Cuomo would basically be to just slip into a life of irrelevance. And 5 years from now, everyone being like, I don't even know who Cuomo is. Like, the fact that hopefully their political and media legacy has just been snuffed out would be a massive punishment for people with such large egos.
I agree, but I do want to give Chris one little lifeline extension. If you got some free time and you want to come on our show, Chris, you're more than welcome to give your defense of the whole situation. We'd love to have you on the week you missed.
That would be the get of the century.
Hell yeah, dude, let's make it happen. And then he can go into complete irrelevance. But that would be pretty fun. I think that's all I got. Do you have any, like, closing statements, closing thoughts?
No, it's, let's hope for the best as we close out this crazy year. I think the one thing I remember is everyone last year was like, oh, 2021 is going to be so much better than 2020. And I remember being like, no, it's not. No, it's not.
It started off with January 6th. It's almost been a year since January 6th.
I was saying it before 2021 even started. I'm like, no, it's not. I mean, because I called it. I said, we're going to have conflicts over vaccines. We're going to have conflicts. And now it's going to get even worse. And people are like, how's it going to get worse? And I'm like, just wait.
2022 is going to get worse. And I'm already pretty sure 2023 is going to be even worse. Guess what happens in 2023? Trump probably comes back in the picture. Like,
man, you know,
it's going to be fucking nice. Florida, we'll probably talk about this next week. Florida just announced they're getting a civilian military together. So
honestly, I'm here for it. I am here. I am here for the breakup of this country and watching what happens. I think it will be wild. I think honestly, I think it happens to some degree in our lifetimes. I think
I'm committed to no side except the winning side. I don't give a shit. I just want to stay alive and free.
Well, that is a winning strategy in terms of staying alive for sure. But yeah, I think that's all I got for now, and I can't wait to talk to you next week.
Hell yeah, have a good one, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Peace.